What is going on, my chemical industry family, partners, and friends? Welcome back to the Smart Acid Podcast, where we continue to let borons be borons. Today's show is brought to us by Univar Solutions, which offers the reliability that delivers, no matter if your chemistry grows, flows, or knows. Univar Solutions is the value partner you need to bring the right product to the right solution at the right time. So go to your univarsolutions.com today and find your right solution. This is Andy Erickson, the storied host of the Smart Acid Podcast, and I'm here with a very special guest, the umbrella to my Mai Tai. It's Kim Jones. Kim, how you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing great, Andy. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Before we jump into all of this fun, can you give us a little background of yourself and what makes up Kim Jones?
Oh, that's a scary place to be, so we'll keep it brief. What makes up the Univar Kim Jones is, I think, going on 12 years now. Mostly commercial-facing roles, little sales manager, little general manager, maybe opportunistically got to help smush together Legacy Nexio, I can talk, and Legacy Univar back in the integration days. Little Salesforce effectiveness, some training, and now back in front of our wonderful customers as a corporate account sales director.
Oh. All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks for coming today and joining us. We have an absolute blinder of a show. We're bringing in the one and only Brian Jerzak, and he's going to talk just a little bit about supply chain resilience on the chemical market. So let's bring him in. Brian, man, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, Andy, Kim, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're awfully welcome for being here. Do us a little favor. Give us a background on Brian B. Jerzak.
Can we kind of do it in under a half an hour or no?
Probably not. I don't even think you can do your title in under half an hour.
I'm Brian Jerzak. I'm Chief Commercial and Operations Officer for the Ingredient Specialties division for Univar Solutions. My background goes all the way, a few decades back as a chemical engineer. Started with a company called Monsanto, eventually found my way over to Univar Solutions, moved the family around the country in various roles and responsibilities, product management, sales, and now I am here and moved to the Woodlands, Texas from Chicago 6 years ago.
Has it been 6 years?
Yeah, well, 5.5, but yeah, going on 6 years.
All right, Brian, before we get into the good stuff, Kim and I were hoping we'd play a little bit of a quiz with you. I know you're a big cyclist and a huge supporter of the MS 150 ride in Texas. Mm-hmm. So we figured we would do a quiz around cycling.
Okay.
Little bonus question just to get things going. Which answer is not correct? Why do cyclists prefer tight-fitting spandex over loose clothing? Is it A, to improve performance, B, prevent chafing, C, it makes every ride feel like the Tour de France, or D, it leaves no secrets behind?
I don't think there's a wrong answer. No, it's aerodynamics for better performance.
Okay. Why are carbon fiber frames preferred in modern racing bikes?
It's simple. It's weight and technology. They're stronger.
All right, I'll give you that as an answer. I'll give you credit. All right. There's a fun fact here. Carbon frames can be tuned to be stiff in some areas and flexible in others. Something aluminum and steel cannot do precisely.
That's true.
Brian, really importantly, what is the red zone in cycling physiology? And will you reach it in the Tour de France coming up in June?
Oh.
Is it A, riding downhill fast, B, effort above lactate threshold, C, riding in traffic, or D, competing in hot weather?
It's B.
All right. Well, how about you get to hit it in the Tour de France?
I think it's a good invite. I think I'm traveling, but let me get back to you on that. I'm still recovering after 158 miles in the Texas MS 150. It's 158 miles.
It's fair.
All right, sounds like a lot of excuses. All right, number 3. And my French is horrible, so I'm going to open up with that right out of the gates. What is the Malay Joanie awarded for in the Tour de France? Is it best sprinter? Is it B, best young rider? Is it C, overall race leader? Or is it D, rider with the best team support?
Ooh. I have a 25% chance in this one. I'm going to go with C.
Oh, bingo. 3 for 3. It's the actual yellow jersey. It's been worn since 1990 to have the leader stand out. The overall times. So, yeah, there you go.
All right, Brian. What's the optimal cadence many pro cyclists aim for during flat road racing? Is it 50 to 60 RPM, 70 to 80, 85 to 100, or 120 to 140 RPM?
70 to 80.
So close. 85 to 100, unless you're Lance.
Okay.
And apparently he liked to push that above 100 RPM. So faster spinning rather than heavier grinding
I was
gears.
thinking about myself, of course, Kim. I like to keep it a little slower cadence.
Yeah, I'm sure over your 150 miles, you were close to 100.
Downhill. All right, number 5. So 3 out of 4, not bad. Why do time trial bikes look so different from real road bikes? Are they A, cheaper to produce? B, designed primarily for aerodynamics? C, easy to repair? Or D, require fewer gears?
D.
B or D, did you say?
D. Dog.
Are you sure you didn't say B as in boy?
Okay, I'll go with B.
All right, there you go. 4 out of 5. Fantastic. Well done. Well done.
All right.
I thought we were going to require the chemical name for spandex.
I couldn't pronounce it, so I decided to back out of it.
All right, fair. We know Brian probably would have gotten that right.
Yeah. Oh, for certain. Brian's a huge fan of spandex. He knows it. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get into the market. Brian, prior to the current situation with Iran, the industry began to rationalize assets. Talk to us a little bit about the reasons behind that and what you saw or what you're seeing.
Yeah, that's a good question, Andy. And actually, I'm going to start this off with a little bit of a story. And it just so happened it happened last night. So my brother called me. He works for a very large building distributor. It's called Builders First Source. And he said, "Hey, Brian, now this is right after work. I'm done talking work." And he calls me and says, "Brian, is there really a shortage in MDI? And how is it tied to the Iranian war?" My wife is looking at me and I'm thinking, it's the last thing I want to answer right now. So then I went into the context around why MDI is short. Actually, it has nothing to do with the Iranian war. Back in November of last year, as one example, and I'll talk a little bit more of how this kind of proliferated over the course of the past 2 years. Freeport, Texas stopped producing propylene oxide. And I said, "Hey, we're going to buy it off the open market." Great, they can depend. There's plenty of propylene oxide capacity. Let's tighten it up. One thing this industry does extremely well is when things get long, they take away capacity and they control their margins to bring it up. Well, who could have foreseen that LyondellBasell would have a disaster at their plant where they had a flare issue and propylene oxide, there wasn't enough propylene oxide in the marketplace. So I explained this to someone in an end market that doesn't understand chemistry. Of course, we live this every day. And when he was astounded by the fact that they can't get MDI products like MDI baseboards and things like that. And the producers are putting price increases in on them. I said, they're legit. You should be happy. You should be able to get it. So even though the competitive environment, specifically in home building, is extremely high, they're going to run out of low-cost inventory. And eventually, unfortunately, inflation is going to set in. So over the past 2 years, we had downstream inventories go down. If you look at every value chain, people are managing for cash. We have chemical producers, 100 plus production units, actually about 140 production units went down, 40 multinationals, primarily in Europe, a lot in North America, a few in China, and you take capacity offline. And so we started to see in Q4 of 25, you saw capacity utilization creep up, and when it hits around 77 to 80%, we start seeing inflationary pressures and shortages. So we are predicting Q3, we'd start seeing some of that pressure hit us, and then February 28th hit, and that was a catalyst to really start a lot of it. So this was happening independent of even an Iranian conflict. Does that compound it? Of course it does.
Brian, if you could talk a little bit about not only the rationalization, but as time moves forward, everything gets more efficient, right? Also seeing more global interdependencies, then insert the Iran conflict. Can you talk a little bit about how that interdependency is also complicating the current situation?
Kim, for the past, in our lifetime, right? So in our careers, past 2 decades, the globe has been built around global efficiencies, meaning the ability to move material around the world, coming from the most efficient economically units as possible. It was key to success. Enter anything that would interrupt a supply chain, you get major displacements, and these supply chains are built to move a lot of material, and they're built around timing and planning. You throw a monkey wrench into that situation and you get displacement, it just creates a ripple effect for every supply chain that you can have. So your next question may be, okay, so what would it mean if the Strait of Hormuz were to open tomorrow? Yeah, this problem doesn't go away. We have a bunch of boats sitting all around the world in the wrong place for efficient supply chains. So you have to look at, the term nearshoring came up a lot over the past few years. Then material got cheap to produce, cheap to acquire from overseas, China primarily. And people reverted back to the longer supply chains. And it's unfortunately, when things like this happen, it stings us.
Yeah. So, yes, worried about ships being in the wrong place. What about 240 million barrels of oil reserves being used?
Yeah, if you're following us, you think about the amount of oil. And by the way, we've gone from capacity reduction. Now we're going into the catalyst being the Iranian conflict and the impact that has. So if you look at the impact of oil reserves and the accessible oil reserves, meaning crude oil that's ready to be refined or put into a refinery. So when you think about that, there's 120 million barrels of reserves was depleted in March. 130 million-ish was depleted in April. It's estimated that 240 million barrels is going to be depleted in May, and they expect more to be depleted in June. Now, reserves are put in place for these types of situations. But if you look at the amount that it's being depleted, where's it going to come from? You get to the bottom of tanks here. So I think it's getting really interesting as we go through June, and we have to watch June very carefully if people are going to run out of oil because the reserves are getting tapped. That's a lot of oil.
I think we'll talk about this in a little bit, but right now the average consumer is seeing it mostly just in gas prices and diesel prices.
Yeah. So and those are the most reactive. But when I let off the story with my brother calling me, now he's a bigwig at the builder distributor. They have no idea what's going on in the chemical industry. Hey, Brian, why are MDI products going up in price? Is it legit? They're going to push that price off through. It's going to hit the builders, and any product that requires MDI or again, unrelated to the Iranian war, but other products that require petroleum products are going to hit the consumer in, call it 4 to 9 months. And that's where we need to be worried about what that inflationary factor does.
And then, Brian, talk to me, why are we seeing it differently regionally? So why is U.S. different than maybe Europe or Canada?
So Europe is obviously more dependent upon, it's closer to the Middle East. So we're going to see, concern, will there be enough Jet A to fly flights in Europe? Jet A is kind of the bottom of the distillation column, very heavy in oil. If you look at North America can self-sustain, except California, who buys petroleum products from Korea, which was using Iranian oil, which is.
Don't chase away our California listeners. Come on now,
No,
easy.
well, I think our California listeners want to know that, and it's now we have to work on getting them the right petroleum products. Yeah. So South America is the same way. So we will see lines to pump, or we'll see different type of shortages in different regions based on where they are traditionally supplied from. And by the way, if you think about the discount that the Iranian oil had compared to OPEC, so it's about a $9 to $12 a barrel difference. That's like a $20 to $40 billion impact to someone like China. So that's going to trickle through that manufacturing machine.
So Brian, I mean, it's tough to broad brush it, but we are seeing impacts where China's starting to move product into Europe, where we're starting to see some pricing coming off a little bit. Talk to us about that, and then also talk to us about how we're protected, or the U.S. market's protected based on countervailing duties, anti-dumping duties.
So for Europe, China's coming in. We see most likely that it's coming off of old inventory, or the Chinese producer needs to run for cash. So the question is, how long does that happen? They're also running off of old technology called coal gasification for some of the petroleum value chains. Those units are, let's start with how efficient they are. First of all, you have to dig up the coal. Then you've got to pulverize the coal, which takes diesel fuel to mine it. Then you got to pulverize, it takes a lot of electricity, and then you have to process it from there. Not a very efficient process. And don't get me started on sustainability. So you'll see that is to be determined what that looks like over the course of June. And I think a big question, Andy, is really around, what does demand do? We've seen some demand destruction. Where does that take place? Of course, that's going to be interesting because we had low downstream inventories for that ultimately end up in the consumers. So it'll be an interesting summer for sure. Now, in terms of how's North America look, specifically the U.S. The U.S. is a protected economy. It is a sought-after destination. The consumer's resilient, and we see the duties put somewhat of a protection on the value that's created here in the U.S. So even though the tariffs are pulled away, we still have existing tariffs that were put in place. So it's and frankly, we have enough production base in the U.S. to sustain operations, going forward for the consumer. A little pricey.
And then, so I want to pivot a little bit here. So Kim, you deal with a lot of our large producers, customers. Talk to us a little bit about demand or demand destruction that you're seeing in that space.
Yeah, I think I'd say most of our end customers, and I deal mostly in construction, water treatment, a few odds and ends, other industries, but everyone's concerned about that for sure. I would say most customers aren't seeing that yet. And I know we want to circle back to that around the consumer side of things, but everybody's definitely concerned.
And then when we say demand destruction, do we mean like the unaffordability to produce something, or are we talking about inability to get something?
Yeah, I think they're concerned about both. And Brian, maybe you can speak to this. I think we were hearing June, July, maybe a point at which we see additional scarcity in the marketplace, right? We've got reserves being pulled down. We've got specialties maybe in certain geographic areas that are constrained to that as a production point. So yes, our customers are definitely concerned about, can I pass these increases along to the end consumer? But I think COVID winter storm, right, winter freeze taught us to be concerned about that one piece of a formula that they suddenly can no longer get. When this whole Iran conflict started, there was an aha moment for me when a customer called and said, I need 50 metric tons in drums of methanol in Japan. And I went, that doesn't make any sense. So 2 questions, I guess, Brian. Are we going to see some shortages June, July? Is it still coming? And is there that inflection point of these data points will tell us it's here?
Yeah, I think we'll get more educated on, you said the keyword early, interdependencies on chemistries that are ultimately affected by the availability of oil. There's a flexible package producer out of Japan that is not producing any more inks. It's all black because they can't get naphtha from the Middle East, and that came across. They're changing their whole branding to just black printing on the plastic packages. So it's that has started. We start to see that in the far-reaching markets. We will see some more of that as we come into June, July. We just can't really predict where. It's we'll probably have a front row seat to it, so we'll be able to give some warning signs. But yeah, be prepared. And June and July will be very telling.
June and July, Brian, talking about that. What is your biggest fear?
One of my biggest fears. So June and July is going to play out based off the interruptions that have already happened. If August comes along and if it happens, okay, we can't predict when it's going to happen, but if there's a hurricane that hits in the Gulf, I do fear that, because if any of the production facilities along the Gulf get impacted, it's going to be a scary situation. And the problem is, going into hurricane season, you want to build up inventories. You can't get necessarily a lot of inventory, a lot of product right now, and a lot of stuff's on sales control. So that's a fear. I hope it doesn't come true. But I've been in this industry 30 some odd years. A 30% hit rate on hurricanes, it seems. I don't know.
Do we know, are they predicting a rough hurricane season?
They're saying the Atlantic Basin is going to be a light hurricane season based on El Nino, but it just takes one. Yeah. So it should be lighter.
One in the wrong place, right?
Yep.
All right, so Brian, we know that the impact in the Gulf and gutting 20% of crude out of the market had immediate impact on a lot of the commodities. I like to say closest to the wellhead. What are we seeing now on the specialty side, and do we predict to see even further impacts, or what are you hearing or seeing there?
Andy, it's a great question. So when you think about specialties, they're typically derived from the commodity side of the business. So as the commodities go up in price and value, and as the availability of the commodities get challenged, of course, you can imagine it trickles down into the specialties. So we typically see a 40 to 60 day delay on the price impact or availability impact on the specialties as that the value stream adds obviously and build the specialty products. And to Kim's point earlier, that's where, again, we'll find out the interdependencies of what exactly is derived from what and who supplies it. So the answer is yes.
So it's a little bit of an unknown. It
is. There's a level of uncertainty, but what is certain, if the value is going up upstream, the value is going to be going up eventually downstream, i.e. inflation.
Are we worried about resins and getting poly packaging?
So if you're a plastics company like Dow, you'd say absolutely. If you think about the polyethylene side of the world, think about the drums, et cetera. Yeah, it's the cost is certainly going to go up. The question is, will it be a priority in the grand scheme of things? Again, we have to let it play out. So packaging, when this first started, was a big concern. If you remember, China cut everyone off on packaging, and then they came back. That is the other thing that we need to be worried about, is when China makes a decision like that, we can't predict it. Is that really a reliable source? And not to throw stones at the situation, but I've been personally affected by, in my probably 15 years ago, when they just decided not to ship us anymore, and all of a sudden we were shorting customers when the Beijing Olympics came into play. So not that it left a mark on me, but it did. At least no, not at all. So, but it did tell us how to source.
Yeah, I just think thinking about one thing our customers, some are thinking about, and others I wish would, is buy one poly container in the form of mini bulk. You get a more sustainable solution, right? And then if there is a problem with continued ongoing resin going forward, you've got your chemistry covered, right? In a really reliable mode.
And Kim, I assume you're talking about poly. So there's also the concern around epoxy resins, and being impacted by things not independent of the Iranian conflict, but again, Freeport's down, no propylene oxide. You start coming into supply chain issues.
All right, Brian, as we start to wrap this up, if there was one takeaway you wish our customers would know.
Look at your supply chain very critically. Look at your critical components, and I would get orders on the books, especially as we go through the end of this year. And plan out far. It's if you need to develop a better relationship with your favorite distributor, us, we do have material in stock. Get contact. But this is an interesting year of which none of us have ever seen. So plan forward.
Univar Solutions family, partners, friends, thanks for listening. This is another wrap on a Smart Asset podcast. Kim, really did appreciate you joining. We'll talk to you in the future about future potentials, but I want to thank everybody once again. And Brian, thank you, and look forward to hearing and seeing you all next time.